Hello, we've got this glorious effects chain here, which I do admit is pretty redundant if you're going to use it in any sort of practical playing situation, but it's perfect for giving you a solid foundational explanation of what modulation effects are, how they sound within these different pedals. It's also just a perfect opportunity to have all of these fantastic pedals all in one video, just waiting here, sitting here, waiting to be
compared.
These are all quality pedals, none of them are even close to being bad. The question is, which one of them is right for you and your collection or your setup? That's what we're gonna be helping you with today. If you'd like to jump to something specific, there are timestamps linked in the description of this video. It's a privilege to be doing this in combination with Delicious Audio, the biggest effects guitar pedal blog in the game. I've left a link to their website as well in the description. And this video is sponsored by DistroKid. If you're looking for ways to officially release and distribute your music to all major streaming platforms and not pay too much money in the process, DistroKid is the best option for independent artists like you, myself as well. I've been using them exclusively for years now, and we'll be getting into reasons why they're the best later in this video. So what is modulation? In the audio realm, modulation is an umbrella term that includes effects that rely on low frequency oscillators. This is an electronic device that makes a parameter inside the circuit oscillate at a customizable speed, affecting your audio signal and creating a sweeping, swirling sort of effect, like this. Depending on which parameter is targeted or affected, you get a different effect. Tremolo is the simplest one, affecting the volume. Chorus and flanger are generated by applying the oscillation to the time of a very short delay. Whereas phaser is delay to some specific frequencies of a doubled signal. Univibe and rotary, the same thing to a slightly pitch shifted one. Also, this oscillation can happen in many different ways or different waves, different types of waves. It can follow a regular curvy sine wave like this, also a square wave, a saw wave, a choppy sort of square wave, or even more complicated shapes. It could even be random. Even though the L in LFO might trick you into implying slower movements, these oscillators can also operate at a higher rate of frequency, delivering choppier, more frenetic effects. All of this can be controlled in different ways depending on the effects pedal that you're using. Many of the pedals featured in this video are on top of the modulation line and give you access to deep editing features to control every detail. And there's a lot of detail that these sort of modulation effects offer. We're gonna get into this. The setup, let's just talk about what we're gonna be comparing today on this gorgeous rack. Everything is on the Pedal Train XD18, which is just so perfect for this sort of arrangement. We've got these rails here, which are really convenient for organizing our wires. We could very easily just tuck everything underneath, so there's not too much going on up top. It's clean, it's organized. We all know and have experienced spaghetti effect, so this just helps with that. These pedals are obviously all strapped down, and this comes with the case, so I could just put it in the case, haul it around. This could be my pedal effects setup. On the top left, we have the Voodoo Lab Pedal Power 3, which is perfect for powering all of the pedals here. It is, thank the Lord, zero noise. And it gives me an option of 9-volt as well as 12-volt inputs to power different pedals. In my opinion, if you're serious about being organized and just looking to avoid headaches, this is the best way to go. As for the pedals themselves, we have the Electro-Harmonix Mod 11. We've got the GFI System Synthesia, Universal Audio Astra. This one really stands out to me. The Strymon Mobius, Walrus AUdio M1, also really cool. Boss MT200, as well as the Wampler Terraform. And all of our sounds will be coming from Novation gear. In this case, I have the Bass Station 2. We might also whip out the Circuit Rhythm, but for now, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. There are affiliate links, obviously a lot of affiliate links for all of the gear mentioned here. Please make sure to use those links if you're on the edge of purchasing said gear. When you use those links, I get a small kickback from that. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It helps support what I do, and it just kind of keeps this train going. So please use those affiliate links. And if you're in North America, use Sweetwater. They are the biggest option, so they have everything that you could possibly need. Let's dive right into the comparison, starting with our first modulation pedal, the Electro-Harmonix Mod 11. Super simple pedal, in fact, the simplest one here. So if you're looking for something that's surface level but that still sounds good, this might be the one for you in this collection. I should mention that this is the only pedal on this list that's not live level compatible, so you have to keep your volume going in it a little bit low or else it might clip. There are 11 distinct effects, very simple, very straightforward, but there are some secondary controls. This mode button right here will change the color of whatever effects that you're on. I have a riff prepared here on the Bass Station 2. Let's just hear these effects. We're gonna go through them and see how they sound. I mean, barely anything to explain here. It's so self-explanatory. It's mono in, mono out. There's also an input for some basic expression control as well. So jumping from here to here, there is a big complexity leap going from the Mod 11 to the GFI System Synthesia. 2 sets of effects parameters on a screen, the option of adding 2 effects at once, and you just know that when there's a screen, the unit's gonna have a higher IQ, let's say. First off, this is the only dual modulation pedal on this list, so it's the only one that's able to combine 2 effects at once. And piling 2 effects on top of each other, they're gonna sort of modulate together to create something completely different. Also, we've got MIDI in, MIDI through, it's mono in, stereo out. Also an input for the option of expression in the back as well. There is a total of, I believe it's 38. Let's have a look. 38 effects to choose from. And you're able to mute and of course switch out these effects to something entirely different if you'd like. You've also got 2 banks to switch back and forth from as well. And of course you've got your regular modulation effects, so speed, depth, as well as tweak, which will change depending on the effects that you're on. You have 2 sets of those to control either effects at the same time. I'll start by just taking you through a few presets to get an idea of what this actually sounds like. Here we go. What I like to do is mute one of my effects and then dial in my tones on a different one. So let's say with this effects here, I could actually switch out or change the quality of this. Let's choose cell phone. It's a little bit more lo-fi. Megaphone. Right, so let's say I'm happy with that. From there, there's vibrato as well. When in doubt, it's kind of like an escape room. If you've ever been to an escape room, just touch everything, press down on everything. There might be some controls that you don't know about. And that's like a pro tip approach to any electronic music gear. There's always gonna be dual function buttons or hidden features like that. So to me, the major standout here is just how many effects combinations that you have, especially when you start to combine the 2 effects together. It's like pretty much endless possibilities. In terms of sonics, I find that it sounds very digital, whether or not you like that or you think that's a good thing. And it's pretty much the complete opposite of our next pedal, Astra. Universal Audio Astra has fewer options to choose from, so we're stepping into Mod 11 sort of simplicity here. Something in between this and what we just covered. It's the quality of these effects that really make this pedal attractive. Really interesting aesthetic as well, like does Jon Snow live on this pedal? In terms of what these sounds are based on, the Chorus Brigade is inspired by the sound of the first Boss chorus ever produced, the CE1 chorus vibrato. So we're going very vintage here. Flange Doubler is a tribute to MXR's classic rack unit. And the Trem 64 captures the optotube tremolo circuits of Fender amps in the 1980s. Probably tickling all the guitarists with that explanation, but we're gonna be trying this on a synth riff with the circuit rhythm. In terms of the split, there's a classic mode where the wet and dry are split up between left and right. And then there's stereo mode, which is like a full balanced signal between left and right. To me, I find that Astra specifically shines when you play it with like longer pads sort of thing. So that's exactly what we're gonna play with here. Let's try it. With it on, 2, 3, and we're currently on the flanger setting. Very cool. Without it, let's try chorus. Yeah, it's subtle, but it just adds a certain warmth. I hate using that term, but it really does. It makes it sound a lot warmer. Very cool on pads. Apparent, without, with. Sounding like a guitar riff. Let's go back to chorus. This is my favorite one here. Whew, love that. Intensity, depth, and speed of whatever LFO we're working with, so this is pretty self-explanatory. Shade is more of a mix or volume knob. Shape is the shape of the LFO. So this is quite a specific, like, guitar-y sounding pedal, but I'm not sure I'll ever get rid of this thing just because of the quality. If I want to go for that sound, this is some of the highest quality that I've heard. There isn't any sort of MIDI implementation here. This is what you get, and honestly, I like simple pedals like this. But the downside is that it only has 3 modulation effects. Ramping up the complexity and experimental meter again. There's a MIDI in, MIDI out if you'd like to tempo sync to another instrument. Stereo in, stereo out. There's 12 different modulation effects to choose from. So pattern trim, auto swell, destroyer, which is very interesting. We'll take a look at that. Quadrature, chorus, flanger, rotary, vibe, which is another one of my favorites. Phaser, filter, formant, vintage trem. Just to get an idea, let's start with quadrature. I'm gonna hit play on my riff. And by the way, there's an insane amount of space on this thing. You could store up to 200 presets, and you could jump back and forth from one bank to the next by hitting these two to go down and these two to go up. We'll go back to chorus, and we're gonna do some menu diving in just a second, but just to let you know, you don't necessarily have to do that because you do have a lot of control just right here. In my opinion, at least for most cases, especially for on the fly, like performance effects type things, all the parameters that you need are right here. For chorus, we have mix, tone, and then the speed and depth of the LFO level as well. There's also a tempo sync here. Of course, if we wanted to, we could tempo sync via MIDI. If not, you could just set the tempo right here. That being said, if we want to menu dive and sort of sculpt this a little bit more, of course we can. So on chorus, with these particular parameters, we could actually scroll through them. So there's different chorus modes. So if I press down on mode, there's multi, vibrato, detune, digital. Let's actually go through a few of these just to give you an idea of the difference. Back to mode, digital, detune, vibrato, multi. Within this menu, we also have mix as well as tone, which are actually available right here as well through these parameters. So this is mix, this is tone, right? So they've made the important ones available. Not that the others are not important, but you know what I mean. I promised that we would check out Destroyer, so let's go ahead and do that on the same riff. Vinyl. Cool. Lo-fi. Without. With. Mix. We have different types of filters as well. Ooh, that one's nasty. And I just have a hunch. I have a feeling that the Strymon Mobius is a grower, as in like it'll grow on you over time. I get that feeling. The Walrus AUdio M1. This pedal is stereo in, stereo out, also has MIDI in and out, which is quite impressive for a pedal that's this size. And just a side note, I'd like to point out that I like that all these pedals have MIDI in and out. It's definitely something that is refreshing for synth users, and it's sort of a confirmation in general that effects pedals are becoming at least a little bit more catered to synth users. And so at this point, we've gone through 4 pedals already. We're getting to the point where things are starting to get a little bit repetitive in terms of the modulation effects that these pedals offer. Again, let's take a look at these effects. We've got chorus, phaser, tremolo, what else? Vibe, rotary, and filter. These are all effects that we've already seen. Just the Mobius alone has all of these effects and much more. So what is it that makes the M1 unique? The answer is, again, the quality of the effects kind of sets it apart. High fidelity, so hi-fi, but there's also a lo-fi knob right here. This is a lo-fi pedal. I find that all of these effects just sound more lo-fi, especially with the addition of the lo-fi knob right here. Let's just go ahead and play it on this insane riff. This is without, let's turn it on. Here we go. Right, so there's some reverb in there, whichever effects we're on. What are we on? Tremolo, phaser. There's different modes for each of these as well. Let's do that. I'm actually going to turn this noise down. So to do that, I'm going to hit this pedal here, hold it down so it flashes. I'm on noise. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a smaller print there that says noise. Turn that down. So you do have control over these parameters here in the small print. And that's both for tweak as well as tune. Space, I want to turn that down a little bit. Space. Again, without. With. Let's turn that lo-fi down. And this time I'm going to tweak the vibe. I'm going to turn up the drive. Right, so we don't really hear anything unless there's the drive. So this coincides with the lo-fi knob. I'm actually going to turn that drive down a little bit. And next up is the Boss MD200. Boss has some really interesting pedals. I would say that the MD200 is a little bit more in the standard realm. But before diving into that, let's talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. Are you looking for ways to distribute your own music? You can do it now using DistroKid. There is a discount linked in the description of this video, which I encourage you to use. It's just over $20 a year to release unlimited music to all major streaming platforms. The thing that makes DistroKid amazing for independent artists is just the sheer amount of free promotional tools that they offer us. There is now a DistroKid iOS app, so you can check out your stats and information on your smartphone. Personally, one of my favorite free promotional tools is Hyperfollow, which is essentially a free link and bio link. I've been using it for years now to lead people to specific pages and help fund what it is that I do. And you can claim as many Hyperfollow pages as you'd like, free of charge. Just over $20 a year to release unlimited music. You keep 100% of your streaming earnings as well, which is another great deal. If you're an independent artist, to me, it's just a no-brainer. Join the team. There's over 1 million users using DistroKid. So yeah, join us. The Boss MD200. This is another pedal just like the Synthesia that has a more of a digital sound. Again, stereo in, stereo out. There's MIDI in and out as well. There's also 12 different effects. A lot of these, again, are repetitions of the effects that we've already seen. Some more basic repetition as well. On the top, we have rate, depth, as well as level. Below that are 3 parameters that you could change depending on the effects that you're using. So from one effect to the next, these parameters will be different. You've got 4 slots for memory as well as the manual preset. So I guess in a way you have 5 slots. There's a tap division here according to your rate, and there's also like a triplet version of each of these rhythmic values. So whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and then triplet version of all those. This is definitely one of the most standard, everything is on the surface type pedals within this comparison. Once again, comparable to the Mod 11, but just with some more parameter control. And for that reason, I think the best thing we could do right now is to just give you an example of what this sounds like. The Wampler Terraform. The first thing we're going to look at is what differentiates this pedal from everything else here. The unique thing is this cheeky little pre-post normal switch. Notice that on the right there's pre-in, post-in in this tiny font right here, if you could see it. There's also pre-out and post-out. When you're using normal mode, if you want, you could just go stereo in, stereo out as normal. If you switch on pre-post though, you could, let's say, run your instrument mono in, mono out. Go through some effects pedal chain, whatever you want. Mono out of your effects pedal chain, back into post in, and then post out into your next audio source. And the coolest thing about this setup is that you can assign certain effects to be pre whatever effects chain you're going into via the post out of the Wampler. Hopefully you're following this. And you could assign other effects to be post. If you're not using that function, as I mentioned, it's stereo in, stereo out. There's also MIDI in, MIDI out as well. There's a blend which essentially acts as a mix knob, depth, rate. There are 8 different memory slots as well as 11 effects to choose from. Okay, so that is a lot of information to keep track of. As I mentioned, a lot of repetition going on here. So let's sum up what makes each of these pedals different in just a few words. Electro-Harmonix Mod 11, entry level, everything you need right on the surface. Mono in, mono out. GFI Synthesia, definitely more complex. Digital sounding with a ton of sonic combinations and possibilities. Mono in, stereo out. Universal Audio Astra, definitely very guitar-y sounding, also very warm and full sounding. There's only a few modulation effects options, but the ones that you get are subtle and very high quality. It's a pedal you can't really go wrong with. Strymon Mobius, top quality modulation pedal, everything standard that you need, as well as some weird experimental modulation effects, and a ton of storage for presets. My first impression is that it's a bit of a grower. I think it's gonna grow on me. Walrus AUdio M1, the modulation effects pedal, especially for synths. It gives you everything, stereo in, stereo out, as well as MIDI in, MIDI out, in a very small pedal, which is impressive. The Boss MD200, arguably the most standard pedal of this bunch, digital sounding, solid classic modulation effects options. Wampler Terraform, standard effect sounds with some very clever and useful audio routing options. Great for if you have other effects pedals in your chain or in your collection. That's about it. There's a lot of information here. That sums it up. Hopefully this video helped you guys out in some way and pointed you in the right direction if you're looking for any sort of modulation pedal specifically. Thanks to everyone who was involved in this video. I'm really happy and privileged to be able to put together content like this with, the best gear around. Affiliate links to all of the gear mentioned and shown in this video. And if you're in North America, go with Sweetwater. They are an awesome option. Certainly they'll have everything that you need. Thank you guys. Lots of other pedal related content coming your way, and I hope to see you soon, possibly in the next one. Bye.